Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Wings channel. We're going to take a look this week at the astrological weather report for the week of August 26th through the 1st, and I'm also going to do the month of September because two of the three biggest events of the month happen to happen on the 1st, which is Sunday this week. So that's what we're going to look at. First, a little bit of business. The Astrological Wings channel is a free video blog on YouTube channel that I do. Been doing it for years on YouTube now. And if you like what you see, I'd really like you to become a follower if you have a YouTube account. And when you do become a follower, remember to turn on your notifications so that you know when the blog is posted. Also, the blog was a podcast long before it was a YouTube channel. So it's still available on podcasts too, is my point. And it's distributed through Buzzsprout. So there's a bunch of them that pick it up. So all you need to do is just go to your favorite podcasts. I know Apple iPodcasts have it. Just look up Astrological Winds channel and you should be able to find it there, and that frees you up to not, if you don't want to be attached to the video, you can watch it or listen to it at other times, while you're driving or at the gym or something, taking a walk, walking the dog, give you something to do. Also, Instagram. I have an astrological Wings channel set up on Instagram too. That's another place where you can find the link to the blog on your Instagram newsreel every week. And sometimes I do post extra stuff on Instagram too that I don't post anywhere else. Um, Also available on my Facebook page. That is a private page under Matthew Lawton. So you got to friend me and I'll approve that and then it'll show up in your newsreel. And the best way to find it, besides the YouTube channel and signing up, that is on my website. I embed the links to the blog every week there, www.astrologicalwinds.com. And if you need to go back and refer to blogs from the past, they're available still there. I also do a weekly calendar page there with some of the events of the week that are going on. So you want to check that out. And that's also the best way you guys can support me. That's where my menu for my professional services are. I am a professional astrologer, have been for over 20 years, was trained professionally for 7 years before that. So if you're ready for a reading or you know someone who's ready for a reading, all kinds of types of readings are there. You can read the descriptions, the prices are there. And, I can work with you on the prices if they're not within your budgets these days. And I'd really love your support. This is what I'm meant to do. Love to help people out. All kinds of different services. If you're a professional and you're looking for monthly or weekly or daily services, they're available too. Also for groups, I have all kinds of services like lectures, classes, things like that. So look all that stuff up on the website. If you'd like to give a donation right now, anybody who gives $5, for every $5 you give, you're entered into a raffle to win a free reading. And there's the Venmo handle at Matthew-Lawton. And there's a Cash App one too. It's just the $ Matthew Lawton, no hyphen on that one. And the best way you can continue to support the blog, which is a free service, is to pass the link on to somebody else. And even if you've done that before, I'd really like you to do it again. Put a lot of work into it, so I'd really love to get a little bit of that payback from you guys on that. All right, let's get into this week. And this week has a lot to do with Venus, actually. Venus is going to go into Libra this week. But what's interesting is, we're seeing a couple of the other things this week. Uranus is going retrograde, right? On Sunday. That's one of the three biggest things of September. And that means that now Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus, the three classic old planets in Chiron, we can put in there too, not really a planet. All of them are retrograde now, is my point. Okay. And what's interesting about it, and Pluto is going back into Capricorn Sunday too. They're all going to be retrograde right at the end of the signs they're in. Uranus in Taurus, 28 degrees, Neptune in Pisces, 30 degrees, and Pluto in Cap going back to 30 degrees at the literally in the 0 degree right now of Aquarius. So why I'm making that point is that what happens is when one of the inner planets comes along, like Venus this week, and is getting near end of the sign that it's in, Virgo, it's going to hit all three of those planets because they're all near the end of their signs too. So this week, Venus is going to trine Uranus, then it's going to oppose Neptune, and then it's going to trine Pluto, and it's also going to go into Libra. So a lot of Venus stuff to talk about for the week. And then I'll get to that weekend, talk about these two big shifts of Uranus going retro and Pluto that's retro going back into Capricorn. And then also, thankfully, Mercury goes direct this week. Okay. So we got a lot of stuff. So let's just talk about Venus first. Because Venus leads the lineup and it starts tomorrow or even tonight, really, when Venus trines Uranus. And when Venus trines Uranus, this can bring a lot of excitement up through relationships. We get stimulated through our relationships when Venus is trine Uranus. And what we're looking for is something new. We're looking for a new experience within the context of relationships. So a lot of times this draws new people into us, or it draws in people who are different than us. Maybe we've been getting a little bit of exposure to them and we can see they're different, but there's like a curiosity and intrigue about what's up with that person. And it brings, draws us in. So we're looking for new experiences within relationships. Okay. That's the main thing that happens with Venus. We want some excitement. We want some stimulation, and new people bring that in. When we bring in new people into our lives, our whole lives shift a little bit, right? So that's what this is all about, and and a lot of times when Venus is trine Uranus, right? Like those connections may be short term. They may be like two ships in the night that are just, passing by each other and, trading off some stuff that's valuable for both of them on their onward journey, but also it can, if a relationship develops under this one that's a sexual, a romantic type relationship, it can be a very unusual one. It can be out of the ordinary. It's not built on the same structure and form that, the societal norms are, and many times too, if it can be a short-term one, like it can be like, I don't want to say unstable because it's actually a harmonious connection with the trine. It's like two people that are really meant to meet at that point in time and space and share something that's very harmonious and gifting towards one another. That's very stimulating and exciting, but it may move on. Their rivers may just keep flowing, like where they cross at a certain point and then they just keep going in another direction. Now, also, this can be very stimulating to art, like wanting to do new forms of art, like getting new ideas about art, maybe coming up with some alternative ideas, or exposing yourself to new forms of art or entertainment, things like that. This can also bring in, some money that is not like, it might be like a one-time thing. Like it may bring in a financial benefit that's not like a long-term thing, but it's just a nice thing to come in on that day. And so then the very next day, on Wednesday, we have Venus opposes Neptune. So first, it hits that 28-degree Uranus, and then to the 29, 30-degree Neptune. And when Venus and Neptune get together, they both are indicators of love, right? They're both indicators of love. And Venus is the indicator of human love, what I call conditional love, right? Romantic love, all the different relationships that we put love into, but like we're under the energy of our humanity. And like, so, it can be like, an up and down roller coaster ride, conditional love, right? And then Neptune is unconditional love. This is the love of compassion. This is the love of empathy. This is the love of sympathy. So the two of them, when they blend together, bring those two things together, right? But Neptune brings a lot of idealism, right? And so what we have a tendency to do when Venus is opposite Neptune is we put people on a throne that they probably don't deserve to be on. Like, and we're setting ourselves up for a disappointment. We're going to find out that they can't really reach those or live up to the ideals that we have for them or for the relationship. Now, let me make the point here. You're doing the same to them, okay? Nobody can live up to the other's ideals. That's not possible, you guys. Not on this plane of reality. Okay? Ideals are an abstract. They come from another plane that's not physical, right? And so when we think that somebody is going to fit into that box for us perfectly, we're just setting ourselves up for disappointment, you know? We have to, find people that, are within the context and close to that. And with an opposition and the planet of relationship, Venus there, we can find a beautiful balance. We can find a soulmate connection even with people. It can be romantic, it might not be. It can be a mystical, you know, spiritual connection too, or a connection through art or nature. But like we can find that balance, but we can't take up this unrealistic attitude that these people are going to be like this perfect ideal. We are not dealing with reality well if that's what we're thinking, and we're gonna let ourselves down. It's you that's doing that to yourself. It's not the other if you have that expectation. And at its worst, Venus opposite Neptune can actually even be being deceived in a relationship. There can be a lot of confusing energy, deceptive energy. So there could be people around you who are purposely trying to lead you astray, maybe trying to tell you that they have ideals that they actually don't have. So this is not the time to make a solid agreement if that's, what you're feeling is happening. And if you are finding that balanced thing where you are accepting that someone is very close to a lot of the ideals that you do have, then you can find a beautiful, beautiful connection then, right, with that person. So very, very interesting energy. But like, once again, you know we can really set ourselves up for disappointment and give a lot, and then not get what we want back, and really, feel like, oh, I'm the one who's hurt. I'm the one who's sensitive now. It gives a lot of sensitivity, this energy. And, then you might feel like others are not being grateful for what you've given. And that can really make us feel, kind of like let down, basically. So really watch this energy. And then right after that, Venus goes into Libra. So when Venus goes into Libra, this is on Wednesday, that is one of the two signs that Venus rules traditionally. So that is one of Venus's favorite signs to be in. And this is the extroverted Venus. Venus, when it's in Taurus, is more of the introverted Venus and a little bit more conservative and into, things and nature and family. This one is more like go out and relate to others. When Venus is in Libra, we are at our most charming. We are at our most graceful. We want connection with others. We want to give and receive affection, and we want to make the connection with others. So this is about going out and doing that. This is also having a lot of grace, not only socially, but in our environment, being able to beautify our areas, having a lot of talent, tapping into like how form, color, shape all artistically come together. So this is a time where we can really artistically output. It really feeds the artistic part of Venus and like really can make places more beautiful around us. Those are the kind of things that it likes to do. Now, this is a Venus, and this Venus is more of a passive energy. Venus likes to relax and enjoy things. So she's, not the most hard worker. The work is really being done in the relationship zone here, where we get reflections where we test things out on others and get that feedback and get to see parts of ourselves and see how we are working. So this is like a really, really beautiful energy, really. I really, when Venus is in Libra, people just get along a lot better. And it can also help with finances for sure too. Like we can start to find maybe a little more balance with our finances possibly, so that's, all good stuff I want, about Venus and Libra. And then as soon as it goes into Libra, because Pluto's right near the beginning of Aquarius and is about to go into Capricorn, it's going to trine Pluto right away on Thursday, right? And so this is really beautiful one, you guys. This is like if you do find that connection, if the Venus Uranus trine has brought someone into your life lately that's been really stimulating and exciting, and it's going into that Venus Neptune zone where you're seeing, how ideal, and there's a blending of the energy. This is where it can really be taken to a deep level. This is where the emotions really come up and passion fires up, and we really intensify our experiences with one another. This is great for one-on-one connections and just going deep and into like a trust zone. If it's romantic, it can get highly sexual and just be transformative, transcendental sexuality, where this deep, open, passionate connection with one another. But even with that non-sexual ones, this is where energy can really, where you're really sharing your inner workings, and you're having rich life experiences with one another that are just transformative and really helping you process in a harmonious way a lot of the stuff that that the relationship is triggering in this really nice way, beautiful way. And once again, this can get us into very intense, powerful art experiences where we either experience art on this very deep level that moves us and changes us, or if we're an artist, we can produce, and we all are artists in something that we were doing. We can produce something very intense and powerful right now. And once again, this can be good for finances too. We might be able to get some help from other people financially, or we might see some kind of investment start paying off, that kind of thing. So very interesting journey for Venus this week, you guys. Really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. I mean, the biggest thing we have to make sure of is those two things with the Neptune, that we're not putting people on a pedestal that they can't live up to. And remember, we're doing it to others, and and they're doing it to us, and we have to all be real about that. And like I said, the other thing is there are people who can, may use this energy to be deceptive with us. So if we're sensing anything like that, no solid agreements, right? But a very interesting. Now, also on Wednesday, the same day that Venus is going into Libra and opposite Neptune, that's the day Mercury goes direct. So August 28th, Mercury going direct at 22 degrees Leo. Remember, this whole retrograde started at 4 degrees Virgo, but then it went back on the 15th. It went back into Leo, and it slid back about 8 degrees in Leo. So now we're going to start going direct. Now, first thing I got to remind you guys, that doesn't mean all the pressure of Mercury retrograde ends this week or that day. In fact, I believe, and a lot of other astrologers believe, that when the change of directions occur on both sides, that's when you can get a super dose of those Mercury retrograde delays and misunderstandings and things just going off track. So this week is still very intense on that level. But eventually it'll start to release as the days go on and get further and further away from that direct point, and you'll start to see communications will start to open up more, travel will start to flow more, your ideas will start to take root more, projects will start to go forward again. It's a time when you can start new things again. And then by the 10th, that's when it will go back into Virgo, where Mercury is very strong. So we'll have a really good month of Mercury in September for Virgo. So be prepared for that. A good time for getting a lot of work done in detail. And then just 2 days later, it'll go out of the shadow of the retrograde. And by then, we'll be completely moving forward. Now, just so you guys know, right? The next Mercury retrograde is going to start on December 26th in Sagittarius. As remember, all three Mercury retros this year are in fire. So right around the holidays to mess with your holiday plans again. Doesn't it seem to happen like that every year? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So just be prepared. If you're traveling these holidays, you're going to be dealing with a Mercury retrograde again. And we know year after year what happens around the holidays with travel. So don't think that it's not going to happen this year again. All right, and let's just get to Sunday then. So Sunday has two large scale events. Uranus going retrograde and Pluto, which is retrograde already, going back into Capricorn until November 20th. Pluto, is here in Cap, goes direct on the 12th of October, and then goes back into Aquarius actually on the 20th. So a 12-week period of Pluto there. But first, Uranus going retrograde. So, Uranus has been in Taurus for a while now, right? 7 years through each sign Uranus travels, right? And as I said, when it really was going to shake up and change the way we do with resources, that resources would become unreliable, unstable. And what have we seen over the last few years? Inflation, supplies way low, sometimes not even be able to get the supplies that we want, right? And that's been happening over and over. And it's happening again in Canada, right? Right now, they're saying that a couple of the ports may close and really affect the trade and prices in the United States again. So when Uranus is going retrograde in Taurus, this is a time where, once again, a lot of this stuff, we're going to really see the cracks in the way things have been done. Taurus really wants that security through materials and wants to go into the store and have the thing on the shelf that it expects on the shelf. And that is not necessarily what's been happening the last few years. And this is once again going to be a point these next 5 months, 4.5, 5 months, while Uranus is retrograde into January of next year, is going to be a time where we're going to probably see a lot of that happening again. Look at, like I said, this Canada thing is happening just as this thing is going retrograde. So we may struggle again and really see how the world and society is struggling with trying to keep reliable resources and supply chains, that it's not reliable. But inside too, what is this calling us to do? Where do we take this Uranus retrograde? It's really saying, you guys, we need to come up with our own unique ways of dealing with a new economy, an economy that is not rhythmic and reliable anymore, an economy that's all over the place, an economy where the banks and the corporations, Taurus, that's what rules banks and corporations, are not reliable, that they're unstable and they go up and down and they lay people off, and you may not have that job for life, right? You may not get all those benefits you're thinking. So this is a time where we really need to look at our uniqueness. That's Uranus. Our gifts. What do we do? Use our intuition and start to think about new approaches to how you're going to do resources during these next few months. Really start to look inside at that stuff. Look at what is my uniqueness? What is my talents? And you can't just let it be an idea. In Taurus, you're going to need to rebuild the structure. You're going to need to create some forms out of that. So for the next 4 or 5 months, I want you guys to think about that. If you're in unstable economic circumstances, which many people are, this is really a time to assess that and look at your uniqueness. Look at your gifts. Because the age of Aquarius, which is where Pluto is going back into on November 20th, is upon us. And we all need to literally be the best we can, you as an individual, in order for all of society to change and move forward. I've been saying this over and over again. So this is a time, you guys, this is a time where, like, if everything is collapsing around you, get out of the building, right? Before the ceiling falls down on you. This is the time to figure it out. What are you going to do next year? When Uranus is direct, when Pluto's in Aquarius, what are you going to do that's uniquely you, that you can find a slot into, that's appealing to you, that you're enjoying your life because you're doing what you're supposed to do, right? This is a time to really assess that information and take a look at that, okay? So the last thing I want to talk about is Pluto's retrograding back into Capricorn. So, it went retrograde months ago. I think it was, what was it, I think it was last March, right? And and was in Aquarius at the time, went back, and so it slowly has moved back, and on Sunday is going to go back into Capricorn one last time for just about 12 weeks. And I've talked to this about it a few times. November 20th, it will go direct on October 12th. So around the same time it went direct last year, and then into Aquarius for good on November 20th. And why? I have talked about this a few times. I talked about it in the yearly. I've talked about it in some of my political quarterly reports. This is something I've been looking at for a while. Like, it's so interesting how this aligns with going right into the election for the United States, for it to go backwards into Capricorn. I really think we're going to have the same election results that we've had in the past. This is all about those in power, Capricorn at the top of that pyramid, still trying to control things the way they always have, still trying to work a political system that apparently is in need of some change at this point. It's like stagnated, and it's not responding to the needs of the system anymore. That's what the people anymore. So that's what the Pluto in Aquarius his job is going to do. But in the meantime, we have these 12 weeks where it slides back. And I said 4 years ago, I said during the inauguration chart that Joe Biden was not going to finish his presidency in a normal way, if at all, and that Kamala Harris, would eventually take over. It was written all over that chart, and it's written all over her charts. And guys, I really think she's supposed to be a leader for no matter how you feel about that. She is a key person in the history of the United States. And I can't help but think we're going to get the same election results that we got the last time, and a lot of the same, reactions to that again, because we're going right back into this old school way of the us versus them, and overlooking that we're all in this together and need to move forward. So we're going to get like some really, these next 12 weeks of this election cycle and stuff is just going to be like that, just hearing that same stuff, the talking heads propaganda, this, that, divide and conquer, yelling names, blah, 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 all that strong arming stuff, it's all going to continue. And hopefully when we get through the other side of all this, we can all start to come together and figure out how we're going to move forward as a society, as even a frigging race, you guys, at this point, as a race, right? As a whole human race in this world that keeps getting smaller and smaller because of Aquarius and the technology and the recognition of our similarities more and more. How much longer are we going to keep saying divide? When are we going to get to the point where we unify, right? Like, when are we going to get to that point? The same fields that at one point we were planting seeds in, we're blowing up now. It doesn't make any sense, right? Why are we doing this? So like, that's where we're moving forward to when this change occurs. But once again, we need to look on a personal level at our own structures one last time. What are we going to give up? So many people right now at wit's end, trying to still figure out how what they're going to do is going to work within the framework of what's always been going on. How about if we change what's always been going on all together? And so that what we do fits in better. That's what we really need to think about in these next 12 weeks or so while Pluto goes into Capricorn. What are the structures in your life that are completely falling apart at this point, that are begging you to change them, that if they don't, they're going to turn into a pile of dust? And what's going to come out of that dust? What's it, what the soil that dust lands on, what's going to grow out of that, right? What's going to feed out of that? Is it going to be your unique talents? That's what it's wanting to have happen. But this is going to be our last chance to assess and let go. And if we don't, the roof will cave in on us, right? So we really need to look at this stuff right now, at the structures in our life that are no longer working, and update those systems. Go for what's unique in you. Go for the spark. Follow the dream, right? That's going to lead you to where your unique spot is. That's what's going to help change everything, no matter what side you're on. And stop the side stuff. Aquarius doesn't want sides. Doesn't want sides. Wants one whole. Okay? So that's the assignment coming up. Now, I wanted to mention one last thing in the monthly for September. There's one other thing going on, and it is such a sign of the times. On September 21st, we get the second hit of Saturn semi-square Pluto. Both of them retrograde right now. And this, I talked about this in the annual reading. This is the frustration that we're all feeling. This is the inability to let go of the structures that we have, yet they're falling apart around us. Violence around us. This is like, watch for yourself. Watch the people around you. Watch the situations you're in. Stay away from dangerous people and places. This is a time when people are feeling uber frustrated. Why? Because we're all still thinking that our Saturn, our idea of what structure is still going to work. And it's not. Neither side's working. Get a clue. This is why we're all so frustrated with one another. This is why we're all so frustrated with anyone who has a different idea than we do. Let it go, right? These things got to end sometime. And Pluto wants to bring in the transformation, right? But as long as you're holding on to that stuff and trying to control others, all you are going to get is the semi-square frustration, and you're going to be stuck. And the walls are caving in. So now it's time to let it go. And this is a time in our personal life where we have to realize resources are at a minimum. We have to be conservative. Don't take chances. Cut away things that we don't need anymore. Get rid of the people that we don't need, that are holding us back. Get rid of the structures and forms that we're still attached to, that are holding us back. Right? What's no longer working? Come on, be real with yourself. Take a look around. Saturn's a realist, right? Pluto's a transformer. The reason they're destroying everything around us is because we're not being real about it. Okay? So this is a time. Ask yourself, what's really working, right? And if you can handle this energy, if you can get through these hard times, you can get through any time. This is a test for all of us. It's like the people who went through the Depression will tell you how hard of a test that was. And it like changed their whole life. And it gave them the attitude that they made it afterwards. This is the test right now for this generation. Can you get through these hard times? Can you let go of the things that you relied on that are no longer working and allow in the transformation? But you're going to have to be real with yourself. You have to be real with yourself. And that means eliminating what's not working, being real about that, what you know already, what that is inside you. Get in touch with that, right? Be real with it. And then that's the way to work with this. But you are going to have to be conservative. But once you realize you can get through hard times, boy, that gives you a strength and an endurance that you know you can take on anything. You can take on anything. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Wings channel. This is a free service. I have been doing this for years, and I really would appreciate it right now if you pass the link on to someone else, because I know there's someone else out there that needs to hear this, that you know, that hasn't heard it yet, and that will help them. That's what it's all about, helping each other, you guys. Age of Aquarius. Please pass it on. If you'd like to give a donation to the blog, I'd really appreciate that too. Every $5 that you give, you entered into winning a free raffle for a free reading, or a free reading on a raffle. There's my Venmo handle at Matthew-Lawton. It cost me money to put the blog out, and I would put it out even if no one ever gave me anything. But if you have a few dollars to spare, I'd appreciate that. Also, Cash App is $ Matthew Lawton. Best way that you can actually support me, though, is I am a professional astrologer. This is what I do. This is what I'm doing for the Age of Aquarius, trying to help you, trying to help myself, trying to help everybody else. If you need a reading, or you know someone else that needs a reading, or if you're someone that wants astrology in your every month, every week, everyday existence, check out my website. I've got a menu there with all kinds of services available. The price list is there too. Save up your dollars. Your chart never leaves you. Don't walk around blind your whole life, not knowing what's going on. Get your annual reading too, so that you know what's going on every year for you. Work with this energy. If you're spending $200 on a pair of pants, it's worth spending some money on knowing the energies that are in your life, because those pants aren't going to last your whole life. But this, you're going to carry around with you your whole life. All right, you guys? So pass it on. Appreciate you all. I love you all. Let's move forward into this change together. Please pass the link on. And I will see you all next week when we've got a new moon at 12 degrees Virgo. Mars is going to get unhappy going into Cancer. And Mercury is going to finally go back into Virgo and get really happy. I'll see you all then.